Hello, Colonel Steve Akley here at my place, the ABV Barrel Shop, where we are next door for a special two-parter where we are going to be talking about 2 times when I got in trouble by a PR person from a distillery. It happens to be the exact same person, the exact same distillery, which is not good, right? You always get strike 1, okay, it could happen to anybody. Strike 2, now you're getting on pretty thin ice, and I got on pretty thin ice. Luckily, it was only 2, and I'd never had to see that 3rd strike. So I feel like I probably would have been out and maybe banned from the bourbon industry if that would have happened. But it didn't, and things worked out okay. So I'm going to share the 2 things in this special 2-parter. Part number 1 is obviously today you're watching. Part number 2 will be 1 week from today. So next Friday, you will get to the second part of the special 2-part series where I talk about crazy things that I did that got me in trouble, though I don't feel like they're my fault, even though I got in trouble for it. All right, the first one. So you got to go back to 2016 when I started podcasting. I guess, kind of was getting things together in 2015 and, deciding if we want to do this stuff. And then in 2016 is when I really started, podcasting. So first episode that ever comes out is September 1st, 2016. I had been thinking about it for a long time, but didn't really know how I was going to podcast. Found someone who could help me out and show me how to do it and things like that. Then I become a full-time podcaster. So you come on, and I did know some people. I had written a book called Small Brand America that focused on the bourbon industry. So I had some contacts from that. And that was done, I don't know, in like 2014 or something like that. That was my first time I delved into the bourbon industry. So but I had some contacts since that happened in 2014 or 2015, whenever it was. And, I thought as I start these shows, I know some people in the bourbon industry. I knew those individuals. And I think I can start a podcast, and we'll start by interviewing them, and then hopefully you get a good show out with them, and then you have something to point to. Hey, I'm doing this podcast. Again, today it's so commonplace. You can start a podcast this afternoon, and by this evening, you can probably have somebody from the bourbon industry on your podcast with you because they're used to it. Back when I was starting this thing in 2015, 2016, there weren't any other really bourbon podcasts out there. I guess late 2015, Bourbon Pursuit starts there, like the first one, and then it's me right behind them. And so you start in on this thing, and it's like, all right, I can interview these folks, but where do I go from here? I got to put feelers out. I got to find more people. And one of the things that when I was looking around, I see on the Sazerac website that Mark Brown has his personal email address out there. And he's like, if you ever have any questions about, the Sazerac company or any of our affiliates like Buffalo Trace or whatever, you can reach out to me personally. I was like, whoa, well, I need to book a guy on a show. Why not ask Mark Brown, right? I mean, he puts it out there, send me a message. So, and I had worked with Buffalo Trace a little bit with their PR and marketing and stuff like that, because once I had started Bourbon Zeppelin, which came before the podcast and things like that, they started sending me information. I was able to get, the stories as they came out. I would get samples from time to time to, review in Bourbon Zeppelin. So I had already kind of started some of this stuff, and I knew them, but, I never thought I need to go through them if I want to interview Mark Brown. So I just reach out direct. And Mark Brown, sure enough, like the next day, literally like overnight, like he responds back. And he says, hey, I don't really do podcasts, but if you're interested, we can have you interview somebody from the staff. We'll get somebody for you. And he copies in the PR person. And I was like, uh-oh, I wonder if that's going to be bad for me. And sure enough, when she read that email that I went to Mark Brown direct, she got mad. I didn't think about this up front. He put his email out there. Why wouldn't you try, right? I need a guest. He put it out there. I'll just ask him. The answer can be no. I'm fine with that. And I got in trouble, and I got to interview nobody. I was told not to do that ever again. So I didn't think I'd ever do that again. But we'd lock horns again at some point, and I'm going to tell you about that next week on this exact same show. So part 2 coming up. It gets even crazier, folks. I got in trouble by trying to reach out to the president of the company. It gets even bigger than that, and I'll tell you about that story. It's just unbelievable. It's one of those crazy things that's happened to me in the world of bourbon. That'll be next Friday. See you then.